Welcome to the channel, and imagine for a moment holding in your hand an ordinary-looking 2012 Jefferson nickel, a coin you might have tossed into a jar or used to pay for a cup of coffee without a second thought. Yet what if I told you that buried within its unassuming surface lies a story so strange, so tangled in government missteps, rare minting errors, and sheer numismatic obsession, that it could transform that small 5-cent piece into one of the most valuable coins ever struck, a treasure so coveted that collectors and experts alike would stop at nothing to own it, sparking late-night bidding wars, secretive trades, and whispered rumors in the deepest corners of the coin-collecting world, because the 2012 Jefferson nickel, born in the Denver Mint during a year most consider routine, has been tied to a series of extraordinary production anomalies that defy logic. Anomalies that may have been caused by die clashes that left ghostly outlines of Monticello in unexpected places, by double striking that shifted Jefferson's stoic portrait into something hauntingly off-center, by planchet composition errors that somehow escaped the mint's rigorous inspection processes, and even by the use of experimental nickel-copper alloys that were supposedly tested but never officially released to the public, all of which point to a tantalizing question: was the 2012 Jefferson nickel an accident of fate, or was it a deliberate test piece slipped into circulation by someone within the mint who knew exactly what they were doing, a move that would plant a ticking time bomb of value in the hands of an unsuspecting citizen, setting off a decade-long treasure hunt where stories began to emerge of people finding slightly heavier nickels, coins with unusual luster that reflected light in strange ways, pieces with faint but undeniable doubling on the date or the mint mark, or even more bizarrely, nickels struck on leftover foreign coin planchets that somehow found their way into U.S. machinery, each discovery adding fuel to the fire of speculation and driving the coin's mythos deeper into the numismatic underground, where experts argued late into the night about whether these errors were random or part of a shadowy series of experimental strikes connected to cost-saving measures the mint was secretly testing in 2012, with some insisting that certain high-grade examples, those graded MS 68 or higher, were so perfect in strike and so peculiar in composition that they must have been intentionally preserved, possibly smuggled out in small quantities by insiders who knew the value these coins could one day command. And then there are the wild theories that suggest a small batch of 2012 Jefferson nickels was struck using a mismatched reverse die from an earlier year, creating a hybrid coin never intended for public release. An anomaly so rare that it would make the few surviving specimens worth millions, especially if accompanied by strong die polish lines or a distinctive die crack running through Jefferson's cheek or Monticello's columns. And as the years rolled on, stories began to surface about individuals stumbling upon these rarities in the most unexpected places: a coin jar inherited from a grandparent, a forgotten vending machine stash, a roll of nickels purchased from a small-town bank that hadn't been touched in years, each find reigniting the frenzy, with some coins selling quietly through private deals for undisclosed sums and others fetching jaw-dropping prices at public auction, leading collectors to question how many of these hidden gems still linger undetected in circulation, waiting for the right set of eyes to notice the microscopic details that separate a regular nickel from one that could change a life. And the intrigue only deepens when you consider the historical backdrop of 2012, a year when the U.S. Mint was under pressure to cut production costs, experimenting with alternative metals, and quietly phasing in new minting technology, creating the perfect storm for unusual errors to slip through. And while the official records make no mention of any authorized deviations, seasoned numismatists know that not every anomaly gets documented, especially if it might spark public outcry or invite legal scrutiny, which brings us to the tantalizing possibility that the rarest 2012 Jefferson nickels in existence are still out there, nestled in spare change drawers or bank rolls, unrecognized by their owners, their true value hidden in the subtle differences of strike, weight, or composition that only the most meticulous eye could catch. And as you listen to this, consider how many coins you've handled without a second thought, because the line between ordinary and extraordinary in the world of coin collecting is razor thin, and in the case of the 2012 Jefferson nickel, that line is blurred by a perfect storm of mystery, mistake, and perhaps even intentional design, a combination so rare that once revealed, it transforms a 5-cent piece into a story worth telling for generations, a story that refuses to fade, drawing in collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike, all chasing the same impossible dream of finding that one coin, that one anomaly, that one sliver of history that proves not all treasures are buried in the ground, some are hiding right in plain sight, in the change rattling in your pocket. And if you've made it this far into the journey, you know this isn't just about money, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the rush of discovery, the unshakable knowledge that somewhere, perhaps in the next coin you pick up, lies a piece of metal that could rewrite everything you thought you knew about the humble nickel. And as the search continues, the legend of the 2012 Jefferson nickel only grows, waiting for the next lucky soul to uncover its secrets and join the ranks of those who dared to look closer, to believe the impossible, and to hold in their hands not just a coin, but a living, breathing piece of American mystery that will echo through the halls of numismatic history forever. Next, 1963 Jefferson nickel, where today we're about to dive into one of the most gripping, mind-bending, and heart-racing mysteries in the entire world of numismatics, a story so strange, so electrifying, and so full of unanswered questions that it will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about coins, about history, and about the secrets governments may be hiding in plain sight. Because what if a small, almost invisible mistake made in 1963 turned an ordinary Jefferson nickel into one of the most valuable and elusive coins ever struck, a coin so rare and so shrouded in secrecy that even the most seasoned collectors whisper about it as if speaking its name aloud might somehow make it vanish back into the shadows where it came from, a coin born in a year when America stood on the brink of change, with tensions of the Cold War brewing, President Kennedy still alive but unknowingly in the final months of his life, and the U.S. Mint churning out millions of coins every day. Under immense pressure to meet demand, yet somewhere amid that rush, deep inside the humming machinery of the Philadelphia and Denver mints, something happened that should never have happened, a slip in the alignment of a die, a hub carrying the wrong year, a batch of planchets made from a metal mix that didn't match official records. Or perhaps even an intentional act by someone on the inside who knew that creating just a handful of flawed nickels could one day set the numismatic world on fire. Because the 1963 Jefferson nickel in question doesn't just have one anomaly, it carries a combination of features so bizarre that experts still argue whether it's even possible without multiple layers of human error, including double die obverse strikes where Jefferson's profile looks like a ghostly twin peeking out from the shadows, mint marks that seem to float unnaturally high or low compared to standard placement, edges that reveal an odd metallic glint as though some were struck on leftover silver planchets from decades prior, and legends whisper of a microscopic design element hidden beneath the Monticello steps, something so out of place it's as if it were a secret signature, an intentional mark left by a rebellious engraver. And the stories only get stranger because over the decades, a handful of these coins have surfaced in the most unlikely places. One found in the change jar of a retired postal worker in rural Ohio who claimed it felt heavier than any nickel he'd ever held, another discovered in a dusty coin roll purchased from a flea market in Arizona by a man who almost spent it on a cup of coffee before noticing a glimmer in the strike under morning sunlight, and yet another appearing in the estate collection of a former mint employee whose family refused to say how he came to own it, fueling conspiracy theories that perhaps these coins were never meant to leave the mint at all, that they were part of a secret test run for an abandoned alloy composition project in preparation for the coming coinage changes of 1965, and the deeper you dig, the murkier the waters get, because archival documents from the era contain strange gaps, production logs with missing pages, and correspondences between mint officials and treasury agents that remain classified to this day, and every time an expert tries to present a definitive explanation, another new theory rises: maybe these coins were a byproduct of a die meant for proof strikes accidentally used in circulation, maybe they were struck twice on different presses in two different mints due to a mix-up in die shipments, or maybe, just maybe, they were a rogue creation, an inside job by someone who knew the right sequence of mistakes to make the perfect numismatic ghost, and yet, no one can explain why so few have ever been confirmed, why each one that surfaces seems to vanish into private hands almost immediately, often sold quietly at astronomical sums far from the public eye, and why certain auction houses refuse to acknowledge their existence in catalogs despite whispers among high-level collectors that prices have already crossed into the multi-million-dollar range, and as the legend grows, so does the obsession, collectors traveling across states chasing rumors of a sighting, people buying entire bags of 1963 nickels from old bank vaults hoping lightning will strike, even treasure hunters scouring abandoned mint storage facilities for overlooked coin bags, all united by the intoxicating possibility that they might be the one to find the next piece of this numismatic enigma, because to hold one of these flawed yet perfect accidents in your hand is to hold not just a coin but a story that ties together history, secrecy, luck, and a little bit of danger, a story where every theory feels plausible but none can be proven, where the line between accident and intention blurs into a shadowy gray, and where the truth, if it ever comes out, might rewrite what we believe about U.S. coinage forever. So as we peel back each layer of this mystery tonight, ask yourself, could there be one hiding right now in your pocket change, waiting for the right eye to notice its secrets, and if you found it, would you sell it, guard it, or keep it hidden away from the world, knowing that some treasures are too powerful to expose, because in the strange and secretive world of the 1963 Jefferson nickel, the real question isn't just what it's worth, but what it's hiding. And whether we're ready to face the answer when it finally comes to light. So stay tuned, because what we're about to uncover could change everything you thought you knew about the value of a single coin. It begins with a coin most people have handled without a second thought, the 2006 D. Jefferson nickel. But what if I told you that buried in the ordinary change jingling in pockets across the United States lies the possibility of owning a small disc of metal worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more under the right circumstances, a coin that not only carries the weight of its 5-cent face value but also the weight of history, artistry, human error, and the strange twists of fate that can transform an everyday object into a collector's obsession, a life-changing treasure, and a piece of American legacy. So ask yourself, have you ever really looked closely at the coins you spend so casually, at the date, the mint mark, the subtle differences that separate the common from the priceless, and could it be that right now, tucked in an old jar of change in your home or rattling around in your car's cup holder, there's a 2006 D nickel that might be worth more than you can imagine, because today's story is about far more than a simple piece of metal. It's about the Denver Mint in 2006, about how millions of nickels rolled off the presses in that year, each one bearing the modernized portrait of Thomas Jefferson introduced just a year earlier in 2005, a portrait that brought him face forward for the first time in U.S. history, designed by Jamie Franke, paired with the reverse image of Monticello by Felix Schlag, and yet, within this sea of hundreds of millions of coins, a small handful emerged that would defy expectations, either through rare minting errors, striking anomalies, or pristine conditions that made them a cut above the rest, coins that eagle-eyed collectors have hunted ever since. Because rarity can emerge in the unlikeliest of places, and the 2006 D. Jefferson nickel is a prime example, for while many collectors dismissed modern nickels as too common, too recent to ever be valuable, the truth is that modern coins can hide some of the most dramatic and valuable errors in U.S. mint history, from double dies where the design elements appear doubled to off-center strikes that skew the entire image, from broad strikes that lack the collar's restraining force to clipped planchets where a piece of the coin's metal is missing, and when these errors happen on a coin as recent and widely distributed as the 2006 D nickel, the results are electrifying for the numismatic community. Imagine holding in your hand a nickel where Jefferson's face is subtly doubled, his eye looking ghostly, the letters of "In God We Trust" echoing faintly beside themselves, or one where the reverse shows Monticello off to the side, the edge of the coin oddly smooth and incomplete, or even a coin struck on the wrong planchet entirely, perhaps a dime blank, creating a silvery nickel that feels just slightly too small. These are the kinds of rarities that can send a coin's value from 5 cents to hundreds or thousands instantly, and they are not just myths or wishful thinking, they have been found, certified, and sold at auctions to eager bidders. And while errors are one path to value, condition is another, because coins graded at the highest levels by the likes of PCGS or NGC, coins that have somehow survived without the slightest scratch or blemish, in full mint state with luster as bright as the day they were struck, can also bring staggering prices, particularly when they are difficult to find in such pristine form despite being modern, since circulation and handling quickly mar most examples. So the question becomes, how do you know if you've got one of these treasures? What separates your nickel from the millions of others just like it in loose change, and why does the 2006 D hold a special place among collectors? Part of the answer lies in the coin's timing, minted just after the dramatic redesign of the nickel in 2005, which marked the first time Jefferson's portrait faced forward. This design change drew attention and created heightened interest among collectors, making coins from the following year more closely scrutinized, and the Denver Mint, known for producing massive quantities of coins, nonetheless saw some variation in quality control. Leading to a small but significant number of notable errors. These factors combine to create a perfect storm. Where certain 2006 D nickels now stand out in the numismatic marketplace, fetching impressive sums under the right conditions, and when we talk about value, we're not just speaking hypothetically, because auction records exist showing examples selling for hundreds, even thousands, depending on rarity and grade, and the allure of such finds fuels the hunt. As collectors and casual coin enthusiasts alike examine their pocket change in hopes of uncovering a jackpot, but beyond the money, there's the thrill of the chase, the satisfaction of holding a tangible piece of history that tells a story of the people who designed it, the technology that struck it, and the unpredictable quirks of the minting process. And if you think this is just a fluke, remember that countless stories have emerged of ordinary people discovering extraordinary coins in the most mundane of circumstances. From a kid buying candy with an unusual nickel to a retiree rolling coins for the bank and spotting something odd in the pile, and the next chapter in that tradition could begin with you, because while millions of 2006 D nickels are out there, the few that are rare and valuable are still waiting to be found, perhaps in the very next handful of change you touch. So ask yourself, if you had such a coin, would you sell it immediately, keep it as a family heirloom, or simply marvel at the strange journey that took it from the Denver mint presses in 2006 into your palm today, carrying with it the quiet possibility that an everyday object can change the course of your life? And as we close this deep dive into the fascinating world of the 2006 D. Jefferson nickel, remember that the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary is often thinner than we imagine, and sometimes it's just a matter of looking closely, paying attention, and being ready when history lands in your pocket. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep your curiosity alive, because in the world of coins, fortune favors the observant. And if you enjoyed this journey through time, mystery, and value, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another story that might just change the way you see the coins in your pocket forever. Next, 2015 P. Jefferson nickels. You might already be holding a coin that could change your life forever, a small, ordinary-looking piece of metal that's been slipping through millions of hands without a second glance, yet hiding a secret so powerful that collectors are stunned. A secret that could mean the difference between loose change and thousands of dollars in your pocket. And today we're going to pull back the curtain on the 2015 P. Jefferson nickel, a coin minted in Philadelphia that has quietly become one of the most talked about modern treasures in U.S. coinage, a coin so deceptively common that you might think it's worth just 5 cents, but here's the truth: don't spend this until you watch, because what I'm about to reveal could make you dig through your wallet, your piggy bank, even that old jar of coins in the kitchen cabinet like you've never done before. And I'm warning you, the moment you see the details I'm about to share, you'll never look at your spare change the same way again, because this one mistake, this one tiny imperfection in a batch of coins from 2015, has turned ordinary nickels into rare collectibles worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And it all started with a series of minting errors so rare and so unexpected that seasoned experts were left speechless. From doubled dies that make Jefferson's profile look slightly ghosted, to off-center strikes that push the design toward the rim like a shadow trying to escape, to the jaw-dropping full steps varieties where every single step on Monticello's front is perfectly defined, a detail so sharp and flawless that coin grading companies reward them with the highest designations and collectors pay staggering sums just to own one. And then there are the real legends, the coin struck on the wrong planchet, rare accidents where a Jefferson nickel design ends up on the metal intended for another denomination entirely, producing a freak of numismatic nature that can sell for a small fortune. And the most heart-stopping part is that these coins didn't vanish into private collections immediately. Many slipped into circulation, passed from cash register to customer, from vending machine to pocket, from coin roll to coin jar, waiting for someone like you to find them. And right now there's a window of opportunity because 2015 wasn't that long ago, meaning a lot of these valuable varieties are still out there, unrecognized, hiding in plain sight. But as awareness spreads, they'll be scooped up and locked away forever. And here's the kicker: grading companies like PCGS and NGC have confirmed sales where a pristine, rare 2015 P. Jefferson nickel with the right variety sold for sums that could cover a mortgage payment, pay off debt, or fund a once-in-a-lifetime trip. And yet the average person still thinks of nickels as pocket change for coffee or gum, which is why this moment, right now, is critical, because the difference between finding one and missing one comes Down to knowledge, the kind of insider information that turns you from an everyday spender into a treasure hunter, so I'm urging you to go through every 2015 p nickel you can get your hands on, study the mint mark, check the steps on Monticello, look for doubling on Jefferson's profile or lettering, examine the edges for striking anomalies, because every clue you find could be the key to unlocking hidden treasure. And just imagine, someone somewhere will pull one of these coins from a roll, a drawer, or a handful of change, not knowing it's worth hundreds or thousands, and they'll spend it like nothing, but you'll know better, you'll be ready, and if you watch until the end, I'll share the most overlooked telltale signs that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary, the kind of tips that have made collectors thousands of dollars overnight, so hit that subscribe button right now to make sure you never miss life-changing coin tips, because once you've seen what I'm about to show you, you'll never overlook your change again, and you'll always remember that the next great hidden treasure might already be in your hand at this very moment. Next 1993 p Jefferson nickels USA coins. Today imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out what you think is just another ordinary nickel, and then realizing that it could secretly be worth thousands, or even more, because it's a rare 1993 p Jefferson nickel hiding in plain sight. A coin that not only carries decades of American history but also a mysterious potential for unimaginable value, and before you dismiss that possibility, you should know that stories have surfaced of collectors stumbling upon coins like this in change, coins that the average person would spend without a second thought, coins with tiny differences invisible to the untrained eye but capable of making numismatists' hearts race, because the 1993 p Jefferson nickel isn't just another 5-cent piece, it's a time capsule from a moment when the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was striking millions of these coins, each bearing the image of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his iconic Monticello home on the reverse. But hidden among them are those few with unusual traits, mint errors, or pristine conditions that have made them legendary among coin hunters, and to understand why they matter so much, you need to step back into 1993, a year before the internet explosion changed the way coins were traded forever, when finding a rare variety meant poring over coin rolls by hand. When collectors relied on whispers in hobby shops or small ads in numismatic magazines to learn about discoveries, and the Philadelphia Mint, responsible for striking coins without any mint mark until 1980 and now proudly stamping its P on its coins, produced the 1993 p Jefferson nickel in massive numbers, over 600 million, making it seem at first like rarity wouldn't even be possible, yet rarity doesn't just come from mintage. It comes from survival in pristine condition and from the unpredictable chaos of minting errors, those tiny imperfections that slip past inspection but make a coin unique, like double dies. Where the lettering looks shadowed, off-center strikes that shift the entire design toward the edge, clipped planchets where part of the metal blank is missing, or die cracks that create strange raised lines across Jefferson's face or Monticello, and every time one of these errors appears on a 1993 p nickel, its value can jump astronomically, especially if it remains in uncirculated condition with blazing mint luster, because collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying a story, a piece of history, a mystery they can hold in their hand, and that's why some of these coins have fetched hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction, shocking those who once thought they had nothing more than pocket change, and the fascination deepens when you realize that the Jefferson nickel series, begun in 1938, has one of the longest continuous runs in U.S. coinage, and through the decades, design tweaks, minting technology changes, and the quirks of human oversight have created an intricate tapestry of varieties and errors, and 1993 was no exception, a year that bridges the classic coin collecting traditions of the 20th century with the modern, internet-driven hunt of the 21st, a year when Philadelphia's presses churned out coins that would go on to circulate for decades, their details slowly wearing away with each transaction, meaning that today, finding one in top condition is already a challenge, and when you add an error or unusual strike to the mix, you get something that could be worth more than an ounce of gold, and yet so many people walk past this opportunity every single day, never checking their change, never knowing that in a pile of ordinary nickels might lie a 1993 p Jefferson that a dedicated collector would pay handsomely to own, and that's the beauty of this hobby. Anyone, anywhere, can make a life-changing discovery just by looking closely. So next time you get change at the grocery store or the gas station, pause for a moment, turn that nickel over in your fingers, check for sharp details on Jefferson's hair, crisp steps on Monticello, and any signs of doubling or striking errors, because you might just be holding a coin whose story spans from the mint floor in 1993 to your pocket today, a coin that reminds us that history isn't locked away in museums, it's rattling around in our everyday lives, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And if you're as fascinated by this as I am, if you want to keep uncovering the hidden treasures of American coinage and learn the secrets that could turn small change into big fortune, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join me as we continue this journey into the incredible world of rare coins where every piece has a story and every story might just change your life. Next, 1988, D. Jefferson nickels L. And imagine for a moment that in the palm of your hand you are holding not just a small, unassuming 5-cent piece, but a mysterious 1988 D. Jefferson nickel whose story is so full of twists, accidents, and whispers of hidden history that it might just change everything you thought you knew about coin collecting. For what if a small unnoticed error during a routine day at the Denver Mint transformed an ordinary coin into one of the rarest treasures in American numismatic history, a coin born not of deliberate design but of human slip-ups, mechanical quirks, and circumstances so unusual that even the most seasoned experts are left debating how and why it exists at all, for in 1988 the United States Mint was busy producing billions of coins, yet within that massive sea of nickel production, a handful, or perhaps only a single one, escaped the machinery bearing subtle, almost invisible markers of difference that would make it priceless decades later, and the more you uncover about these coins, the more you feel as if you're stepping into a detective novel where clues are scattered across history, records are incomplete, and the key players are long gone, leaving only the coin itself to tell its truth. But here's where the story grows stranger. Some collectors insist that certain 1988 D nickels display transitional features, as if they were struck with dies intended for another year, carrying faint details that belong to a future design, a misalignment of time and metal that seems almost impossible, yet the Denver Mint has its own lore of misplaced dies, test strikes gone wrong, and hurried production schedules that allowed such anomalies to slip through, and if that were not enough, there are those who claim that a micro-level inspection of these nickels reveals doubling in the lettering, ghost images on Jefferson's portrait, or strange shifts in the rim, all pointing to minting errors that should have been caught but weren't. Perhaps because in the relentless pace of coin production no one expected this particular batch to matter, yet here we are decades later with whispers of one coin selling privately for a sum so shocking that the buyer demanded secrecy, fueling rumors that its true value could soar into the hundreds of thousands or even millions if it were ever brought to public auction, and why wouldn't it, for history tells us that rare errors, like the 1913 Liberty nickel or the 1955 double die cent, have become legends worth fortunes, their prices climbing not just for their rarity but for the stories woven around them, and this 1988 D. Jefferson nickel is fast becoming part of that pantheon, with collectors sharing tales of unexpected finds in old jars, dusty dresser drawers, and inherited coin collections, each discovery triggering a frenzy of online searches and magnifying glass inspections as ordinary people wonder if they too could be holding a hidden fortune, yet every mystery demands skeptics, and some argue these anomalies are the result of post-mint damage, mere tricks of wear and tear, but when metallurgical tests and microscopic imaging reveal patterns too precise to be accidental, the case for a genuine mint error becomes harder to dismiss. Still others wonder if the government itself knows more than it admits, for the mint's own archives contain gaps in production records from that year, unexplained variances in die shipment logs, and even internal memos about die inconsistencies that were never meant for public eyes. And what if, as some daring theorists suggest, a small batch of test coins struck with prototype dies was accidentally released into circulation, creating a micromyth in the world of coinage that only the most observant could ever hope to unravel? Yet the trail is littered with misdirection. For every promising lead, an estate sale in rural Colorado, a retired mint employee's cryptic comments, seems to end with more questions than answers, drawing collectors deeper into the rabbit hole. And this relentless chase for the truth is part of what makes the 1988 D. Jefferson nickel so intoxicating, because it is not just about the metal or the minting but about the human urge to find meaning, rarity, and value in something overlooked, the thrill of uncovering a piece of history that the rest of the world walked past without a second glance. And every twist in this saga adds to its aura, the whispered auction where two anonymous bidders pushed the price into uncharted territory before vanishing into silence, the grainy photograph of a nickel with an inexplicable die clash pattern that some insist is unique to 1988 D, the persistent online forums where collectors compare notes late into the night, debating if the key identifier lies in the angle of the mint mark or the curvature of a single serif on the word liberty. And the stories pile up, like the man who found one in a box of loose change his grandfather saved from the 1980s, or the woman who unknowingly spent hers at a gas station only to later discover from a coin dealer what she had lost, each tale both heartbreaking and exhilarating, underscoring how easily fortune can pass through our fingers, and the further we dig, the more we realize that the 1988 Jefferson nickel is less a static object and more a living mystery, its legend expanding with every collector who joins the hunt, its value fed not only by its rarity but by the collective obsession of those who seek it. And so the question remains, what if right now, without realizing it, you already have one in your possession, tucked away in a jar, hidden in a purse, or rattling in the cup holder of your car? What would you do? Would you hold on to it as a talisman of fate or cash in on its staggering worth? And what if letting it go meant it vanished into the shadows of private collections, never to be seen again, perhaps destined to reappear decades from now as the centerpiece of an auction that makes headlines worldwide? And as we reach the heart of this mystery, the emotions intensify, because this is not just about coins, it is about the allure of the unknown, the chase for something rare and almost mythical, and the possibility that at any moment, a small, ordinary-looking object can reveal itself to be a life-changing discovery. So keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your curiosity burning, because the 1988 Jefferson nickel is out there, waiting to be found. And its story is still unfolding, drawing you deeper into its world with every heartbeat. And if you've enjoyed stepping into this extraordinary mystery, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the next great coin legend might be just one pocket away from you right now. Next, 1977, Jefferson nickel. And let me ask you this, what if a small, almost invisible mistake on a coin you've probably held in your hands without thinking twice could transform that ordinary piece of change into one of the most valuable and sought-after treasures in all of numismatic history? A coin so elusive that even the most seasoned collectors whisper about it in hushed tones, wondering if it truly exists in perfect form. The legendary 1977 Jefferson nickel, a coin that should have been unremarkable, just another product of the Philadelphia Mint's massive output, yet somehow became the centerpiece of one of the most mysterious and electrifying stories in coin collecting, a story tangled with production errors so subtle and so strange that they defy easy explanation, minting anomalies that seem to suggest either a bizarre accident or a deliberate act by someone deep inside the minting process. Anomalies that have created versions of this coin so rare that even experts with decades of experience have only heard of them in rumors. And as we peel back the layers of this enigma, we step into a world where the ordinary laws of minting and distribution seem to bend, where coins vanish before they're officially released, where bags of nickels are quietly diverted or destroyed, where a single misplaced die or a fleeting change in pressure can leave behind a signature that transforms a common coin into a priceless artifact. And it's here that the 1977 nickel becomes something more than just a 5-cent piece. It becomes a cipher, a key to a mystery that has its roots in the industrial chaos of the late 1970s, a period when the U.S. Mint was struggling with quality control, battling equipment malfunctions, and racing to meet production quotas, all while dealing with the lingering aftershocks of earlier coinage redesigns and the demands of a growing population. So imagine the scene: presses thundering, metal blanks clattering down chutes, die sets being swapped in haste, the smell of oil and heated metal thick in the air, and somewhere in that cacophony, a minor misalignment, a die clash, an over-polished surface, a subtle doubling of design elements, or perhaps even an off-metal strike slipping through unnoticed, creating a handful of Jefferson nickels unlike any others, their differences so small that only the most obsessive eyes would ever spot them, and yet those differences, once known, would ignite a frenzy among collectors, for this is a coin where rarity isn't just a matter of mintage numbers but of sheer survival. How many of these flawed or experimental strikes could have escaped the mint? Some experts suggest fewer than a dozen in certain error varieties, each one capable of fetching tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands at auction. And here's where the theories spiral: was it all just bad luck and machine error, or was there a shadowy hand guiding these anomalies into existence, perhaps a mint worker with an eye for the unusual, a belief that a tiny tweak could create a legend, and the knowledge that in decades to come such a coin would be worth a fortune? But even if we dismiss conspiracy, the documented history of the 1977 P nickel is riddled with intrigue, reports of overstrikes, wrong planchets including copper-nickel blanks intended for other denominations, instances of dramatic die cracks slicing across Jefferson's face or the Monticello reverse like lightning frozen in metal, weak strikes that leave ghost-like images, and proof-like surfaces on coins never meant to be proofs, each anomaly a breadcrumb in a trail leading us deeper into the labyrinth, and the deeper we go, the more stories emerge, collectors stumbling on one in loose change, not realizing until years later that their coin's full steps on Monticello were so perfectly struck that it catapulted their humble nickel into the realm of five-figure sales, dealers recalling mysterious calls from unknown sellers offering uncirculated rolls of 1977 P nickels under conditions of strict secrecy, urban legends about a bag of rare strikes that vanished en route to a Federal Reserve facility, never accounted for, perhaps spirited away into private hands, never to re-emerge except as whispered rumors at coin shows, and this is where the human element takes hold, for behind every coin there is not just metal but emotion, hope, greed, obsession, stories of collectors who mortgaged their homes to acquire a pristine specimen, of lifelong hunts that ended with heartbreak when a coin was proven counterfeit, of family heirlooms discovered in dusty jars that changed fortunes overnight, and every one of these stories fuels the fire, making the 1977 P nickel not just an object but a legend, a symbol of how history, chance, and human longing can collide in a sliver of metal. And as we explore the numismatic archives, poring over auction records, mint reports, and private correspondence between experts, we find tantalizing clues but never the full truth. Because every answer spawns more questions. Why do some of the rarest varieties have no official mint documentation? How did certain dies show up in circulation coins when they were supposedly scrapped? Could some of the most spectacular examples have been intentionally destroyed by the mint to prevent a scandal? And if so, how many might still be out there, tucked into coffee cans, forgotten in dresser drawers, lying unnoticed in cash registers at small-town gas stations, waiting for the one sharp-eyed person who will recognize their extraordinary nature and set off another wave of media frenzy? The tension builds because with every passing year, the odds of finding such a specimen grow slimmer as coins are melted, worn beyond recognition, or locked away in permanent collections, and yet hope persists, because history has shown us that great discoveries often come from the most unlikely places, and the 1977 P. Jefferson nickel, with all its mystery and madness, may yet have more surprises to reveal. So as we reach the edge of this mystery, standing between fact and legend, you have to ask yourself, if you had one in your hand right now, would you even know? Or would you let it slip away, just another nickel in the change jar, never realizing you just touched a piece of history worth more than gold? And that's why this story never ends, because somewhere, maybe in your own pocket, the next chapter might already be waiting to be found. So keep searching, keep looking, keep dreaming, because the world's greatest coin story might still be out there and you could be the one to write its ending. And if you enjoyed diving deep into this numismatic mystery, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more unbelievable true stories of rare coins and hidden treasures. Next, 2007 P. Jefferson nickels, where today we dive into a story so gripping, so shrouded in mystery, and so charged with possibility that it will have you questioning every coin that's ever passed through your hands, because what if a small mistake, invisible to most and overlooked by millions, made one ordinary-looking piece of pocket change the most valuable coin ever struck? A coin whose very existence blurs the lines between accident and destiny, the 2007 P. Jefferson nickel, a coin that, on the surface, seems as unremarkable as any other 5-cent piece, yet conceals within its history a labyrinth of minting errors, production anomalies, and almost mythic rarity that has driven collectors into a frenzy and set the numismatic world ablaze with speculation. But how did it happen? How did a year that most people would skip over in a coin book become the focus of such intense obsession? And why do whispers persist of a handful of these coins being worth more than luxury homes, rare cars, or even small fortunes, the answers to which lie buried in a tangled web of U.S. Mint decisions, human error, mechanical mishaps, and the sheer unpredictability of history itself? For 2007 was not just another year for the nickel, it was a year where changes in die maintenance schedules, subtle shifts in striking pressure, and unrecorded trials at the Philadelphia Mint may have converged into a perfect storm, producing coins with doubled features so precise they almost seem intentional. Misaligned dies that create ghost-like shadows of Jefferson's profile, planchets struck on the wrong metal composition entirely, and perhaps most tantalizing of all, a few that bear whisper-thin evidence of experimental satin finishes never meant to escape the mint's walls, and when you realize that any one of these errors could turn a common coin into a numismatic legend, you begin to understand why stories circulate of collectors who pulled such pieces from pocket change without knowing their worth, only to discover years later that they were holding something the market would value in the tens or hundreds of thousands. But the tale deepens when you consider the theories, that some of these anomalies were the result of deliberate acts by mint workers testing new equipment, or that coins struck on foreign planchets accidentally fed into U.S. presses slipped through undetected, vanishing into circulation like ghosts, only to reappear in the hands of the lucky or the incredibly observant. And yet, as with all great mysteries, there are contradictions and dead ends, rumors of entire bags of error nickels destroyed before release, whispers of government agents buying back suspect coins, and the maddening possibility that the most perfect errors are still out there, sitting in jars, drawers, and glove compartments, mistaken for nothing special, which is why collectors scour rolls from banks, estate sales, and flea markets with the persistence of treasure hunters, each one secretly hoping to stumble upon the holy grail of 2007 P. Jefferson nickels. And the further you dig into the history of this coin, the more bizarre the coincidences become: the sudden disappearance of certain die varieties from auction records, the unexplained withdrawal of official statements about production numbers, the conflicting accounts from former mint employees about whether specific trial runs ever occurred, and the tantalizing possibility that a small subset of these nickels was intentionally released as part of an internal test of circulation tracking, making them traceable yet deliberately unacknowledged. And then there are the discoveries that hit the headlines, like the hobbyist in Ohio who claimed to find a 2007 P nickel struck 20% off-center with a double die reverse so sharp that experts fought over whether it was real or counterfeit, or the coin dealer in California who reportedly turned down a six-figure offer for his pristine example of a 2007 P struck on a 6-gram planchet of an unknown alloy, believing its rarity would push the price higher in time. And while skeptics argue that such valuations are inflated by hype, history proves otherwise. Rare error nickels have consistently shocked the market, their prices climbing not just because of scarcity, but because each one tells a story of chance, secrecy, and the thrill of the hunt. And this is where the 2007 P stands apart, because unlike other error coins tied to a single well-documented mistake, its mystique comes from a cluster of anomalies that seem unrelated yet eerily connected, as if the year itself was cursed or blessed, depending on your perspective. And every time a new variety surfaces, it throws the community into renewed debate, fueling forums, podcasts, and late-night calls between top collectors and dealers trying to piece together the full puzzle. Yet the puzzle remains unsolved, because no one knows how many of each error exist, whether some are still undiscovered, or if a few remain hidden in private hoards waiting for the right moment to emerge. And as you follow the trail, you can't shake the feeling that we are all part of a larger story, one where history, luck, and human curiosity collide, and where the humble 2007 P. Jefferson nickel stands as a reminder that extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight. So the next time you get change from a store, pause and look closely, because you might be holding not just 5 cents, but a piece of history worth a lifetime. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown world of coin mysteries, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more tales of hidden treasures, and join the hunt, because the story of the 2007 P. Jefferson nickel is still being written, and who knows, the next chapter could be yours.